My name is Ian Doescher. I'm an ordained pastor in the Presbyterian Church USA, currently worshiping at St. Andrew's Episcopal Church in North Portland. I'm an author and I work at Pivot Group. I'm also the father of two sons, Liam and Graham, ages 22 and 20. John Ondrasik has a song called Freedom Never Cries that contains this lyric, "I only talk to God when somebody's about to die." It was 2008 when I first heard this song and wrote that lyric down, so it's been at least that long since I realized that I most often talk to God when something is wrong, when someone is in trouble, when I need help, when I am feeling fear. In April 2007, during Holy Week, my son Graham was 2 years old and got sick. I took him to our local pediatrician who assessed him and sent us home. I carried Graham back to the parking garage, put him in his car seat, and got into the driver's seat. I looked at Graham in the rear-view mirror and saw that he had slumped over. I was reversing out of the parking space when I heard a clicking sound. I looked back and saw Graham was having a seizure. I reparked and ran with Graham in my arms back upstairs to the pediatrician's office. What was happening to my son? Please, God, don't let my toddler die. What is happening to my son? Fast forward to May 1st, 2019. I was on a work trip to Los Angeles when Graham, who was now 13, got sick again. The texts I received, first from my mother who picked him up from school, and then from my spouse Jennifer, these texts went from bad to worse. Then much, much worse. First Graham was sick, then he was at the doctor. Then the doctor was advising Jennifer to take him to the emergency room. Then Graham and Jennifer were at the hospital and Graham was starting to talk gibberish and hallucinate. Jennifer told me they were taking him in for an MRI and that he would be seeing a neurologist. I rearranged my travel plans to make it back to Portland that night, all the while thinking, please God, help him. Help him. What is happening to my son? Fast forward once again to this past summer. Graham, now 20 years old, served on a wildland firefighting crew based in the tiny town of Avery, Idaho. After a couple months of low fire activity in Avery and frankly some boredom, Graham got the call one night that his crew would be deployed to Colorado the next morning, where there were large fires raging. This was what he had trained for. He left Avery and was out of touch for several days. We couldn't track his location via his phone, and we didn't hear from him. As far as we were concerned, he'd just fallen off the map. Where is my son? God, please be with Graham. Where is my son? I don't want to leave you in suspense. Graham is doing very well. When he was 2, it was just a bad flu, dehydration, and a febrile seizure, the kind of seizure many young children have when their fever suddenly spikes, which is scary but ultimately not that serious. When Graham was 13, he had norovirus, and it was so bad that he was disoriented and talking nonsense. Graham made it through this past summer without being close to any major fires, much to his disappointment. Even the work he did in Colorado was mostly cleanup after the major fires had passed through. I only talk to God when somebody's about to die, or at least when I'm worried that might happen. My fear most often manifests around worries about my children. By extension, my faith most often manifests around worries about my children. For me, fear and faith are partners. This season, Mary and Joseph expect a child who will bring them joy, see them in the manger. But also a child who will bring them fear. Where on earth were you, they ask, when young Jesus disappears on a trip to Jerusalem? And a child who will bring them pain and loss. See Mary at the cross. Fear and faith, faith and fear. I only talk to God when somebody's about to die.
This has been a production of Trinity Episcopal Cathedral in Portland, Oregon. Music for this podcast was performed by James Walton. For more information about Trinity and our community, go to www.trinity-episcopal.org.